All right, so welcome to the end of the day. We've had an exciting bit of presentations, and now we're just going to do an overview of the DUI MAT project up into actually current numbers. So this is pretty exciting for us to have. So the overview of the DUI MAT project is basically we help people access the help they need. So when you think about the project being housed in DUI programs, what an opportunity we have to affect a vast majority of Californians through our services. So when you think about the case for DUI MAT, and this is the brainchild of the Department of Healthcare Services DUI branch, when they saw the funding for the opioid use disorder and what was happening throughout California, and some of the underserved communities that were seeing really high opioid overdoses, they thought about the DUI program system and how we touch all of those different counties, and how can we utilize those services to help people who are struggling with opioid abuse or those that they may know. So when we talk about DUI MAT, a lot of times what we're talking about is planting that seed. And I know you hear that a lot from Michaeline. But that's what DUI programs are designed to do, is help those that are suffering at the time they come to us. But a lot of times we are helping them to put those thoughts in their head for the future. So we may even be not only just planting a seed, we may actually be creating a bush where they're not going to step through to the other side and fall into addiction because of what they've learned and experienced at the DUI program. So our mission really is to get the information out there. And how we're going to do this for DUI programs is we're going to integrate this service. So what we want is for everything that the DUI program does throughout the project, all the things that you do usually, your face-to-faces, your groups, your education, even the initial intake session, we want you to include opioid information, polysubstance use information, that the DUI MAT project exists, and we want people to know what their resources are within your local community. That's what the project's all about, adding that one little extra step to the program through that integration. And what we found is some pretty amazing things happen when you take that one additional step in DUI programs. So not only are we giving all of that extra information to our clients who are sitting in our groups or sitting in our education or in our face-to-face, but also to their families, their friends, their coworkers, etc. So we're growing, that information is growing out into the community, and that's how we're affecting. So we can't even take a calculation and put a number on that, but we can do that in the DUI programs. We can show you how many people we've touched with this program. And we will do that because we love numbers. Not everyone loves numbers, but we love numbers. So some of you are DUI MAT providers. Let's see a show of hands. How many of you are actual DUI MAT providers? Fantastic. And as we know, we're fingers crossed for round 3, which we will have 54 DUI programs join us, hopefully. We started with 27. In round 1. We expanded to 40 in round 2. And hopefully with round 3, we expand to 54. So you can see the huge impact. So around 118,000 people a year go through a DUI program. And that fluxes. It used to be more. We heard Mark Stodola early talk about how arrests have gone down. And, you know, a lot of things affected that. Uber was one of them. You know, what a great thing for people to be able to have a very inexpensive way to immediately get a ride home. So we saw a reduction because of the prevalence of Uber and Lyft coming on into our society, and that's really wonderful. Public safety is important. But one of the things that we also know is that the police officers, when they arrest someone because of the HIPAA laws and confidentiality laws, it takes them longer to process the individuals. Lots more paperwork, and that's bureaucracy, but it's a reality. So they have less time out on the road to police more people. So arrests are going to go down in that sense too. So lots of things contribute to that. And so DUI arrests have gone down, DUI enrollments have gone down. And so we're probably sitting at about 112,000 for this past year, somewhere right around that amount of people. So the DUI MAT providers, here's our 40, provided a DAST pre-screen to every individual that enrolled. They offered it. And we're happy to say, like 98% of the people who were offered the DAST took the DAST. And we were able then to measure how many people not only got that information, but how many people had OUD issues within the DUI offender population. So there's our 40. So if you look at California, just again, thinking about the impact that the project has, look at the map. You can see that those 40 DUI programs are pretty well spread throughout California. What we like to do when we look at a map of California, go to the California opioid dashboard. If you Google that, opioid dashboard California, you'll get the California numbers for the opioid problems in California. And it's a very nice website that gives you all kinds of different information. You can drill down to your county specifically to get your information in your county. You can see numbers for all of California. They now have it split out by fentanyl deaths also. So it's really a fantastic resource for you as you build that integration into your program, as you train your staff on opioid use and fentanyl. You can use those real-time statistics that will drive home to them because it's their county that you're giving them statistics on. So California opioid dashboard. But what we want to try and do is we want to try and get into the counties, and you'll see it on the map on the dashboard, that are red. And those are the counties that are suffering the most overdoses in comparison to population, right? And so we've gotten into a lot of those red counties. Then you get orange and yellow, and generally there's not many counties that don't have some kind of flag color. And so you can see we're pretty well covering California, and we'd like to do more. So 54 programs. So we hope that all of you reapply for next time, and we hope we get some new programs on also. So what's our feedback? What we found out from our providers that are providing the DUI MAP project right now is a couple of different things. One is it really had them take a look at their program and the quality of services that they were providing because of that integration piece. How are we doing orientation? How are we doing enrollment? How are we providing the group information? Is our group structured? Is it willy-nilly? Do we have a topic? How can we fit that opioid piece into our group structure? What about our education? Do we have a formal curriculum that we're providing information, and we know that opioid use can fit right into session number 3 in, right after we talk about stimulants. So how do we integrate? So it really did help programs to examine what they were doing and take a look and see what improvements they could make while integrating into this. The other thing that we found is that people were actually getting out into their communities more and meeting different providers and becoming more active in the efforts within their community that had to do with opioids. We encourage the providers to go out into the community and find their local resources, because if we identify someone who needs additional services in the DUI MAP project, what do we want to do? Give them a phone number and say good luck? Warm handoff. We want to actually know exactly where we're going to send them, if they're going to get in right away. If we know someone there, we want to call them. Hi, I have Joe here. He's ready to come in and do a second level assessment. When can you get him in? And then Joe's sitting there, you're on the phone, the person that you're handing off to is right there. What a wonderful experience is that? This project gives you the opportunity to take the time to do that. You have the time to do those those referral searches. So what's in your area? And our DUI MAT program liaison will help you if you are struggling with how to find those resources. I don't know what to do. I've looked in the phone book. Shows my age, right? I've Googled, I've done this, and we can help you. That's what we do for our DUI MAT providers, is we want to do what we can to make you successful and to help the clients. Knowing those resources within the community is key to that success. The other thing that we found is that the DUI providers that were doing the DUI MAP project had other DUI programs that were like-minded. And so they were able to connect with each other through the different meetings that we've had. They've, in our monthly meeting, we've had each one of the programs share something that they've done within their program. So it's giving us all ideas on, hey, DUI program A over here does this. I should do that. And so program B is able to implement something that maybe they wouldn't have thought of. And so it's given us a little bit of creativity within our programs to maybe make some tweaks that we wouldn't have already done on our own, because we're all isolated. We're busy. I mean, let's face it. How many clients do we see in a day? How many staff do we deal with? How many pieces of paper, phone calls, emails? We could go on and on. There's so much to do. How do we implement new things? And that's where this process comes into play, is we give those tools to you. So you don't have to make them up. We give you those processes. We can't do everything for you. We'd love to come to your program and do stuff, but we can't do that. So what are the subcontractor deliverables? So you're a DUI program and you are a subcontractor of the grant. So you get the grant money every quarter, and every quarter you are required to provide certain deliverables on that contract. Basically, it's integration and outreach. So with that integration, it's ensuring that you're meeting all of the agreed upon deliverables, which is the case management. So case management basically means that you have gathered data, you've put the information out, you've gathered the data, you've reported that data, you've integrated and identified OUD and poly-SUD issues within your facility. It's not a lot. There's some reporting that needs to be done, which is vitally important. We have to show that this program is worthwhile, that it's cost effective, or show that it's not. We're lucky we're showing that it is, because you guys do a fantastic job. But if it was money that wasn't well spent, we wouldn't want to continue spending it, right? So really, it's just making sure that you as a provider cover those details. And again, you have technical assistance from the CADTP DUI MAT staff to help you do that. So our project data. Basically, we look at screening as the very first aspect of the DUI MAT project. When that client comes into your facility, we want them to be screened for OUD or poly-SUD. So it's an additional screening to whatever assessment that you do as a part of your requirements for DUI regulations. So it's an additional screening. We chose the DAST. We looked at a lot of different screening tools, and the DAST was, number one, very easy. It was easy for clients to understand the questions without assistance. They can fill it out themselves. And it was simple for our counselors to score, or even our clerical staff to score. So we wanted something very simple, and the DAST met all of those requirements. So we utilized that DAST to find the initial assessment. So someone who scores high on the DAST, then our next step is to contact them, meet with them, see what we can do to help them through the DUI MAP project. Do they need assistance getting into treatment, that second level assessment? How did they then do at that referral that you gave them? They may have went to our warm handoff person to get the second level assessment. Maybe the office that they were sent to was closed. If we don't follow up with them, we would never know that. Maybe they went there and they were disrespected. If we didn't follow up with them, we wouldn't know that. And that treatment opportunity, that intervention, is then lost. So we need to be there for them the next step to ensure whatever they experienced, whether positive, negative, or in between, that we address with them. And one of the things that we heard from Diego was that affirmation, right? So they went. Doesn't matter what happened at that, but they went. Wow, huge, 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 huge progress. So then we try again. Sometimes those things happen. Not everyone's perfect. You know, we're gonna work until we can get this for you. So we want to make sure that that follow-up, that's what the project is funding, a part of it, is that follow-up of the client. What happened to the referral? So look at the total pre-screens. And this is to date. We're not even done yet, people. We've got more time. 74,000 pre-screens since this project started. So think about the impact that the DUI programs are having, 74,000. Now, that's not going to include the clients that take the information out into their community and help those. We can't include those numbers, right? We can include, though, that each one of these people in the DUI programs that received the grant funds have more information than programs that didn't, than the clients that weren't involved in the project, because of that integration piece. That integration piece that put OUD and poly-SUD information in all aspects of the program, from the enrollment to the face-to-face, to the group, to the education. And that's a key piece of this project, is getting that information out. So here's the pre-screen results, and you can see that what we find, this is the DUI population. Was anyone surprised when they saw this information, the low number of severe OUD problems? Anybody surprised in that? No. I was too. Yes, good point. So we know our DUI population. This is a population of people that are still fairly high functioning, right? They got a DUI, so they have a car. More than likely, they have a job. Most of them have insurance, et cetera, et cetera. So they're still high functioning. So we were not surprised that we didn't have a higher number of the on the severity level. We were very comfortable with that. And so was the Department of Healthcare Services. We know our population, so we were not surprised. What we were able to do is those folks that are on the higher end of the scale, guess what? They were offered something that they wouldn't have been offered if it hadn't have been for this project. And that was to get that personalized service to help them access. And that's pretty special. So, no, it's not a huge number of actual individuals, but it's a huge number of people who have information that wouldn't have had it in the first place. So pre-screens, planting those seeds. And here's our clients, 121 for SOR 1, 316 for SOR 2. So those are great numbers. So think 316 people went to second level assessment, got into some kind of treatment, and that's, yeah, pretty awesome. And this shows you, again, not surprised, where the majority of those who joined the DUI MAT project, what level of program that they were in. So were they a 3-month offender, a 6-month offender, etc. And of course, we know that those multiple offenders are going to have a higher incident of struggles with addiction than our first offenders, who generally, first offender, it's their first dabble into maybe being having legal problems as a result of their substance use. But we do know that multiple offenders have a higher tendency towards the addiction level than, and this definitely shows that. And then our age groups, we definitely know what our age group is for DUI demographics. It's basically the same thing for our OUD population that have the opioid use disorder. You can see that it's basically the same population as our DUI group. A little tiny bit younger if you were to do it statistically with percentages of population. We might see a little bit of a shift towards a younger age. So best practices. Throughout this project, what we've been able to do is to highlight some best practices based upon what we have found while giving this project. And those best practices were developed not just by CADTP and DHCS, but the providers themselves attend meetings. We've gathered information, we've given out surveys, and we've culled down those best practices. And you have the best practices in the little booklet that you have inside your folder. We have some extra ones on the table. I would love it if you took those back to your program. And if you need more, we'd be happy to send you more. Use those to talk to your staff. Have a staff meeting that goes over those best practices. Best practices are no good sitting in a drawer. Best practices are best when they're shared. And how do you share within a program? You all sit down and you talk about it. And what a great thing to talk about is best practices, as opposed to maybe discussing the things that are going wrong in the office. How about let's make it a happy thing and let's discuss best practices and how can we institute some of these. So please utilize those. But we do know that for best practice categories within your pamphlet, you're going to see 4 categories: integration, outreach, identification, and case management. And through those 4 areas, we're going to show you the identification of a best practice within each one of those categories. And if you are applying for grant number 3, you want to look at those best practices and make sure that you've done the integration of those best practices to help you out. So informational integrations, basically informational materials, intake, group education, face-to-face, and staff training. And we've talked about all of those. Integrating the DUI MAP project into your program is basically integration of opioid use disorder and poly substance use into your program. So it's not anything really special aside from that it's done. That those are the focuses and they're put into all of those. So that integration piece is definitely a best practice. And these best practices are for all DUI programs. They're very generic, not just for DUI MAP providers, but for any DUI program out there who really wants to address the opioid use disorder and polysubstance use. If they follow these best practices, they're very generic to any DUI program that wants to make some improvements. Or shall I say enhancements? Outreach, again, finding that local community. Our local community is our best option for our people. If we don't know our local community, then we cannot be as helpful as possible. When that person's sitting in front of us, we don't have a lot of time. You know, how many of us have been in a situation where somebody out of the blue says, I need help? And that means they're ready tomorrow? No, they're ready now. And really, that's when you need to jump on it. And so knowing our resources is really important, being involved in our community. Case management. Documentation is really critical. Title IX gives us some very specific documentation regulations that what we really want to encourage is that monitoring of the client is tracked throughout the program, that it's followed up on, that no referral is left to die on its own, that next time we see that client, that we are bringing up that referral. How did it go? You know, you went to you went to housing help. What, even if it's not opioid use disorder, we made a referral, right? So you went to find some help on housing. How did it go? Do you think that you need additional information? So following up on that is critical. And that's critical not just for the OUD and the poly-SUD. It's critical for any referral that you give during the course of the program. Follow up on that. Ask what happened. See if there's anything else that's needed to supplement maybe the referral that you gave them. Again, we're going to find out things that we wouldn't know if we didn't ask. Maybe it didn't go so well. Maybe they went to the housing help and nobody answered the door. Nobody was home. And they just dropped it. So they're still in need. They're not going to come and tell you because not everybody does. Oh, let me go tell that counselor who gave me the referral. No, they're not going to, most will not automatically call. Few might. So make sure that that follow-up is done. Train your counselors to do that follow-up every face-to-face. And then program-specific best practices, I'll let you read that. So our purpose in DUI really is providing that treatment experience that really addresses the person, is finding what that person needs. And part of that is the screening, providing them the education and the information that's needed, and then giving them referrals based upon that, and then following up on that referral afterwards. So it really is just that cycle. And it really sounds quite simple, doesn't it? But again, we're dealing with clients. We're dealing with phone calls, the county, the state, the staff, the person who just called in sick, the client who just threw a fit out in the lobby. You know, so we're dealing with all those things every day. Putting these little things into place can really be quite helpful within your programs to help the flow and ensure that the basic piece of helping the clients doesn't go away in the midst of sometimes the chaos. So the DUI MAT project is there to help you do that, and we look forward to round 2. I want to say thank you for attending today. It was our honor to be able to do this. I want to thank Wholehearted for their graciousness, their fantastic professional abilities that we don't have, that they were so generous in offering us here today. It's been a fantastic day, and we look forward to continuing to finish out this MAT project, which ends September 30th, and starting the new one. So safe travels home, and we'll see you next time.